Plus, what Morgan Spurlock learned when he went to work for a medical marijuana distributor.
Now I have the ability to grow marijuana in the state of California. In San Francisco, I can grow up to 24 plants in my backyard.
This is Piers Morgan Live.
Hi, I'm Morgan Spurlock, in for that other Morgan, and that was from my CNN series Inside Man. I learned a lot about pot in this country, but not as much as my next guest. Joining me now, Cheryl Shuman, the leader of the Cannabis Reform Movement, who runs the members-only Beverly Hills Cannabis Club, and her daughter, Aimee Shuman, who's executive vice president of the club, also Howard Samuels, CEO and founder of the Hills Treatment Center. Thanks for being here, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, Morgan.
Cheryl, why was it important for you to start the Beverly Hills Cannabis Club and become known as the Martha Stewart of marijuana?
Well, I had a health crisis that led me to the cannabis industry, and when I realized that it worked for me as a corporate woman, I felt it was very important to redefine the space because there's such a negative image and stereotype assigned to the modern cannabis consumer. So I was approached by William Morris Endeavor, who is representing me in film, television, and whatnot, and we are developing reality series programmings as well as film projects and all sorts of things. So it was very, very important, I think, especially with us being at a tipping point on legalization, for mainstream to take a serious look at this, because the truth is the modern day cannabis consumer are people like you and me. They're doctors, they're lawyers, they're attorneys, producers, actors, they're everywhere, and we're inspiring and empowering people to come out of the closet and be open about the fact that cannabis works for them.
So, Nadja, you're going to go from pop mom to movie star, TV star. That's next.
Yeah, from your lips to God's ears. That's what my agents think. So
how has it made you a better mother? I've heard you say that. How's that happened?
Well, in 1996, when Prop 215 was just passed in Los Angeles, my therapist, who at that time had me on antidepressants and anxiety pills and sleeping pills, he actually suggested it to me. I was in a session with him. It was 1996. Prop 215 had just passed. And he and I had developed a rapport where he felt comfortable telling me that he used cannabis himself. He found it to be an excellent mood stabilizer. And so I tried it. And I was able to get rid of all the pharmaceuticals that I was using, and cannabis worked much better for me. Then 10 years later, in 2006, I was diagnosed with cancer, and it saved my life. So in my particular case, it gave my life back to me for my children so that I could be there for them. And now my daughter is my executive vice president, and we're building the company together.
Aimee, is she right? Did it transform her as a mother? Did it change her as a person?
Absolutely. I'm so proud of my mom. She's the modern day Pauline Sabin, the woman that overturned alcohol prohibition. Now she's going to overturn marijuana prohibition. So it's amazing to have her as a mother.
Dr. Samuels, as a recovering addict, what is your reaction to the pop moms?
I really find it frightening because there's really a lot of ignorance that is going on here. You know, I started smoking weed at 14. I didn't get sober until I was 32. It took me years to rehabilitate my emotions. And what we're talking about is marijuana is a very dangerous drug when it comes to your emotions, especially for the 15 to 25-year-old individuals who are just starting to learn how to deal with feelings in a healthy way. Not to medicate your feelings just because
Aimee,
you have
you
a little
disagree?
anxiety.
Aimee, you're shaking your head. You disagree?
I disagree. We were on the Katie Couric show recently with Dr. Sanjay Gupta, and he had a lot to say about this. I'm not a medical professional. I wish we had a medical professional, but a medical professional would disagree.
So, Doctor, back to you.
I would like to add
Dr. finish real quick. So, Doctor, why don't you think pot should be legalized?
Okay, let's get something straight. All right, these people, their specialty is PR. It is not addiction. I've been involved in the addiction field for almost 25, 30 years based on also me being an addict. Okay, I deal with this day in and day out. How dare they tell me what I'm saying is not true when I treat individuals who have panic attacks, anxiety attacks, who cannot sleep, who have major impulse control issues because they've been smoking pot every day for 5 years, 3 years, 10 years, lack of motivation. These are facts. So please don't tell me that I'm wrong when I deal with this issue on a daily basis. That is irresponsible.
Ladies, what are your thoughts?
as a mother, here's what I find very interesting. First of all, I'm not advocating for a 14-year-old to go out and use cannabis as a mood stabilizer. I was 36 years old. My daughter is a grown woman at 32 years old. And I'm saying as a responsible adult, this works for me much better than Prozac or antidepressants. Now, let's address the addiction issue. There are many people that feel that cannabis is a gateway drug. I completely disagree. I feel that if someone is going to be an addict, they most likely started with tobacco or beer. And of course, pot was probably the third one that they tried. And if a person is going to be addicted to anything and they have an addictive personality, they're going to be addicted to almost anything. So I completely disagree with the gentleman. And I've seen a number of cases, quite frankly, where people have had other addictions and they've never had an issue with pot whatsoever. So I'm talking about the medicinal use of cannabis as a grown woman, as a 53-year-old woman, in the privacy of my home. And I'm also speaking about people who use cannabis responsibly. I am not referring to people who have addiction issues, and I do not support a 14-year-old using cannabis. Period.
Dr. Cheryl brings up an interesting point here, which we live in a country where we really do jump to medicate people very quickly with prescription drugs, whether that be like Oxycontin, oxycodone, Ritalin for children. How is that different or okay versus using this as some sort of a medicinal treatment?
None of it is okay. Okay? The antidepressant issue is different. I'm on Lexapro. It is not a mood-changing drug. It helps me with my OCD issues. Okay? Now, marijuana is a very dangerous drug because it medicates the emotional system. So what you're doing here is that these people are telling me that marijuana is as safe as aspirin or toothpaste. BS. Please, get a life.
So
this is a dangerous drug.
There's no doubt to you that marijuana is a gateway drug.
Not only is it a gateway drug, because if you were really in the field that I am, people are using marijuana at 14 years old because of people like this I'm debating. They're telling people, and kids are listening to this show, that marijuana is safe and it totally causes no harm to the body and the emotional system whatsoever. That is totally false.
Is today's pot, how is today's pot different from our parents' pot? How is it different from like the pot that you and I grew up around versus what's around today?
Oh,
well,
today it's extremely powerful today. I mean, the chemicals that they put in it, plus when we talk about cigarettes, we're talking about smoking pot. What's the difference? If you're inhaling horrible chemicals and issues like that, then that's also where the throat cancer comes from and other physical ailments. So to me, what's really, and excuse me, but why aren't we getting high on life anymore? That's the issue.
I'm high on life. I'm high on life right now.
Well, there's something very important here that you guys are you're not addressing. Number one, cannabis is far safer than alcohol, tobacco, or pharmaceuticals. It was legal in our pharmacies until 1937. And not only that, alcohol, tobacco, and pharmaceuticals, people are dying at the rate, women specifically, are dying at a rate of 1 woman every 9 minutes from overdoses from alcohol, tobacco, and pharmaceuticals. Do you know how many overdoses there have been from marijuana? Zero. Zero in the history of this plant. It's a plant that can heal a multitude of illnesses. It is a superior mood stabilizer, and it works. And the revenue and the tax regulation of this plant can heal our economy, period.
Cheryl, do you see any benefit to the place where I worked, Harborside Health Center? What's the benefit of a place like that?
Well, first of all, I love Stevie D. I just got off the phone with Andrew before I got on here, and I have to say that one of their philosophies of coming out of the shadows and into the light is a very, I think it was an enlightening and empowering field for me when I first had cancer. Harborside was the very first dispensary I went into. I think they're excellent role models. As you know, Morgan, there are real patients there. It is not people getting high, and cannabis works far superior over any drug, any pharmaceutical. I don't have any addiction issues. None of the people I know have any addiction issues. But if you're an addict, Howard, you're going to be addicted to anything, incling chocolate.
Doctor,
it is safer than
Howard,
aspirin.
Any benefit to the place where I worked? Any benefit to a place like Harborside?
The only benefit is with people with serious, cancer issues and some pain issues. That I agree with. But the whole medical California issue here is a farce. It's a sham. You know, most of the people are addicts that get cards. I mean, I treat people that walk in there, they can get a card like that, like you did, Morgan. I mean, it is totally unregulated, and it's a joke, and that's part of the issue. But what is really irresponsible here is that there doesn't seem to be many advocates of trying to protect our young people from this very dangerous emotional drug. And I'm sorry, but I think that the two of you are totally being very irresponsible here to our nation's youth.
Cheryl, Aimee, Dr. Samuels, thank you for your time. We appreciate you being on the show. We'll be right back.
Thank you.